You just asked me, did I prepare any questions? Let's say sure. This is not a formatted thing. I think I even labeled these as a random fart damage interview presents, which doesn't make sense really, but I'm excited for this regardless. I'm hanging out with one of my best friends, Trish Sullivan, right now. This is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the whatever this is.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hell yeah.
Whatever this is.
It's an interview. It's a hang. It's just me hanging out with my friends because I'm limited by, geographical circumstances and comedy, but there's so many people I've met, from whether it's
All over.
Zoom and we've done comedy IRL. I was just saying, meeting people on the computer comedy, but then meeting them in real life. I was saying this to Ira Claiborne about you and her as well, that you were both very funny in person also. And I was like, thank God, because you want people that you like to be funny too, because so seldom are they both.
Especially if they call themselves comedians.
Oh yeah, I'm like, what I think you mean is mentally ill, but you know what? It's good seeing you at the open mics. Yeah, I don't know. I just these are
I
just
know.
fun. I knew I had to just start like I didn't want to call it a podcast, but I was like, there's my friends are fucking funny and there should be an outlet for it. I shouldn't be like confined by anything. So that's what it is. It's a hang. It's a how are you, and let's show everyone how we're doing. You're crushing it. You're doing stuff. I see you at all the Illuminati meetings. We're both doing good, wearing our skull and crossbone robes and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's inevitable at my age that I would be in the Illuminati. If I'm still doing anything, that's where I would have to be.
I
Because
I kid. I mean the Illuminati that is like Zoom comedy still. There still are people like I would consider you like me like an agoraphobe kind of like, "Oh, why fucking go outside?" Cuz I did when I moved here, I did think I was only going to do shows in Nebraska and I would only do open mics on Zoom. I was like, that's where Zoom. But I think
can't
it's just
remember.
more of a time and place. I think I think if you can have all the right people in it, you know, I just play video games then though. Then we all just start playing Jackbox and Gartic games. We don't even do comedy. It's like, oh, all my friends are here. Let's just have fun.
I want to talk about the Gartic games. I am
Okay.
such a bad artist. That kind of art, drawing,
Yeah.
coloring things in. I'm terrible at it, but I still really have fun doing it. But the
I have a
Jackbox game,
blast.
you guys just fucking jump ahead. Okay, we're doing this, and I don't know what it is.
Don't lump me in with those psychos. Like Ham has a really nice stylist. She goes all out. She's a virtuoso in that game. I more or less am drawing a dick or just writing something funny because that's what I love about it is if anyone doesn't know what the Guarded game are, it's kind of like a game of telephone. Like someone will write a sentence, then you have to draw that sentence, and then someone sees that drawing and then they write what it is, and then it just continues until the whole loop of friends goes, and then you see everyone's like it almost looks like a text thread of
Yeah,
just a de-evolution of a conversation, but it's some of the funniest shit I've ever fucking seen. I guess especially with comedians it only makes sense that we
sure.
would have gold.
And so many are good at drawing, which is just like really surprising. Isn't that where the Sneaky Plum was born on that game, or was it on a Jackbox game?
I have a Sneaky Plum mug. I do improv with Kirk. He is one of my good friends. I could not tell you if there was a gun to my head what the fuck Sneaky Plum is. It is just this enigma. I have Sneaky Plum merch. I don't know why. He
Well,
hasn't done anything for me. He has
I
no
have a
content.
Sneaky Plum coffee mug. I
You
have like an original Sneaky Plum, not any of the
see, Yeah, I think I don't know where. I think I or Ham bought it, but I'm not even sure. But that's the thing is he had to have come from one of the games. That's where the goof comes from, but I have no idea. And I know that some of the doodles and some of the inside jokes from those games have become so funny. My wife Ham wants to get like a whole sleeve of the doodles, and I'm like, I can't talk shit. We have matching hot dog tattoos. Can I even get that on camera? My ring lights. I'm so pasty. Wow.
Well, so am I. So
Yeah.
look at how white my hands are in front of my face. I was
No,
noticing that
I
today in a
don't know.
meeting. I was
The
like,
light
"What?"
is hitting me
Yeah,
terribly.
I don't use my ring light anymore. That was the first year of the pandemic. That's not now.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore. I used to be like, "Hey," and I had backgrounds with my uh that Dana Wisson, the
Yeah.
comedian from Arizona. She drew all those she did all that art, and I had her do a background for me. Everybody had them for a while, all the cool
Well,
kids.
yeah, it goes to what you say. Like a lot of comedians have other like creative skill sets. Yeah, she's a great artist. And she also does that. I think the first time I ever saw her, she was doing like she has a character where she's like in Limp Bizkit or something.
She has a character named Angus
Yes.
who is hilarious, and yeah,
Yeah, she
and
does like characters because I do characters too. So I love other people when they're just like, and they just don't even give context. They're just like, I'm just doing something crazy, and they just stick
she's
to it.
brilliant. I
Yeah,
think
she's
she's
fucking
brilliant.
funny too.
She's brilliant, I
Yeah,
think, and very talented.
yeah.
And
We're gonna have to at her in this. Make sure I keep up with all the trends. Like I clip up these interviews. That's the real editing is making sure I tag things with clever joke titles. So then
that would be
everything seems like a joke. So when I admit to crimes, I'm like, nope, that's a joke now. I'm working on. That's a bit. This is all allegedly.
marijuana is illegal in Nebraska.
Oh, what? I'm actually live from the ocean, actually. That's why my lighting's terrible. I am a starboard right now.
You
Uh
could be in Illinois.
I know.
There, everything's legal.
I just figured out no, well, Missouri just legalized it. So
Oh, good for them.
dispensaries actually are going to pop up next week. They open February 6th. So this will probably be out like around that time period. So it's just funny because now I'm like, okay, my best option is to go to Missouri, which I've never even thought about because I don't consider it real. But it's so funny that, I've
No,
done a
it's
lot of shows in
real.
Kansas City, but for whatever reason, since I've lived here, a lot of them been on the Kansas side. So it's like weed's not legal in Kansas. Uh, Getting an abortion is, but Missouri, it's the opposite. They legalize weed, but you can't have an abortion. I'm like, do I really have to just like run around this whole city to get my whole day done today? This is bullshit.
They have there's a county in Missouri that has the worst meth problem in the whole country. It's like
I
one
believe it.
county. Where if you have a cold or you have allergies and you need to get Sudafed, just like an old woman like me, I have a sinus infection. Your doctor has to write a prescription because even old
Wow.
grannies, it's not just behind the counter and you have to show ID. It's like you have to have a doctor's prescription. Yeah.
Even in these COVID times, right? Can you imagine just being like, I just want to smoke meth? Like, come fucking My friend Jerry Morgan, he doesn't do comedy anymore. He became a dad. He didn't like quit or anything. He just, he doesn't have the time. But he had a great joke about we used to tour a lot together, and we were in one of those states where he was having allergies, and it was the same thing. Like it was under lock and key. And it's so funny to just be like, he's a traveler, so he doesn't really have like, he might have his ID, but that's like as far as it goes. Like he doesn't have a note from a doctor or anything. He's just having allergies. But his joke, and I'm paraphrasing it bad, but it was a funny notion because it's kind of like what you're saying. It was like he's trying to prove he's not trying to make meth with it, but all the symptoms of having allergies just look like you're on meth. His eyes are all red. He's all scratchy and like erratic and like kind
Teeth
of
are starting to rot in his mouth.
yeah.
mean, geez,
He had like better examples. It was very spot on because it was his bit. Obviously, it was a good bit, but yeah, it's very funny. It's like, can you imagine? But no, I've never had a good time hanging out in Missouri. I say that with 1,000% confidence. You can go fuck yourself, Arches in St. Louis. I don't give a shit.
there's only one arch.
Yeah, it's McDonald's too, actually, It's
The
okay. You were
Gateway
close.
McDonald's.
Yeah. What were we gonna say?
Gateway.
Arch to Triumph or something? We have a fake
That's
one in
somewhere
Hartford,
else.
where I'm from. We have a fake Arc de Triomphe, so I'm
So
spoiled.
I used to be a newspaper reporter back
Me
when newspapers
too.
existed, and there was I covered this little town, Niles, Illinois, that had the Leaning Tower YMCA, and it had a replica to scale of the Leaning Tower of Pisa in front of it, and on
Wait, it
Chewy
wasn't even
Avenue.
the YMCA was the Leaning Tower?
No, it was like in front of it. I think it was built
Why?
independent, and then they put independently, and then they put the leaning the Y behind it, and then anyhow, so I used to go to village board meetings, and they were trying to get Pisa, Italy, to be their sister city, because we both have towers that
Oh
lean,
my God.
and they eventually got it done, but it took years because
That's
this city
so
Pisa is like, what is the village of Niles? Because villages here are different than villages in
right.
Europe.
Oh, we have to be
Villages are like
sister
villages.
cities.
But this was this was my favorite part. So after it's approved, this guy is standing giving a presentation to the village board, and I'm sitting there. It was actually in a jury box, but that's where they put the reporters with my notepad. And the guy gets up and he goes, I was in Italy and it was wonderful. There were Germans and Italians and Japanese all working together in harmony. And I lean
Yeah.
to the reporter next to me and I go, wasn't that the Axis?
Yeah, right. Finally, these 80 years have come full circle. Anyways, yeah,
Well, geez,
preposterous.
that's what you think of when you think of those three together.
Yeah, it's definitely some shenanigans, a Three Stooges situation for fucking sure.
I
Like
mean, they're all our allies now, right? But
I mean, well, with this new world war, I mean, who's to say? I mean, we got a lot of things going on. I think we're fighting a shittier, dumber civil war right now, but now we're going into a new, faker, nostalgic, dumb Cold War. That's also World War III. I don't know. This is a weird parallel universe we've really spun off in at this point.
I have found during the pandemic, if I keep my news consumption very low, so I only barely know what's going on,
Hmm.
I don't have anxiety attacks every day. So
Well, you
um,
should definitely always consider the source.
I do, and it's like good papers. I still read
Yeah,
newspapers
well, I'm not
whether
saying
I'm
that you
working.
don't. I'm saying the general public needs to more or less. I mean, we are completely, as a species, addicted to sensationalism and constant updates, and like, because like we I think a lot of it has to do with like humanity's biggest fear is death because it's like the ultimate like uncertainty, but like now living in this constant update kind of like built gets more of in like into the gray area of not of being certain about things constantly, so it like kind of like you get what I'm saying. I
Yeah,
don't I feel like
I'm
I'm
not certain about.
on the cusp of something profound, but not smart enough to do it. Not even smart enough to say that I'm not smart enough to do it. I'm actually just too stoned. But you know what? I'm
Stuttering over
close.
your words. Yeah,
I think
no.
I'm high, therefore I am. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was who was that? Descartes. I
As
think
me, but yeah,
I
I'm
think
playing
I'm
on
stoned,
Descartes.
therefore I am. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I had to take a lot of philosophy
Well, he
classes.
said it in French, but yeah.
Yeah. I think it was written in uh Latin,
Oh, yeah. Never
but
mind. I'm not
and
that
I
big of
used
a
to know
dork.
that, but
That's like Dungeons and Dragon dork territory when you start speaking Latin and shit.
I can't speak Latin. Nobody knows how to pronounce it. It's been dead for thousands of years.
Yeah, it's kind of like an open mic. No one really knows what's being said. or why? Like, what is this archaic? I'm really just I'm embracing the telling a scary story lighting that's presenting. The thing is I did an interview right before you as the sun was setting, and at one time in the previous interview, my lighting was appropriate. It has changed and I didn't fix it, but now I'm
I
just like,
feel like I'm overlit is all.
you have the classy blurred background, so it's like enough to be like, "Ooh, I wonder what those shapes are." Like that's a doorway, and there's probably a painting or something. Maybe there's a clock, you know?
There is a clock in the
Whoa.
background, and there is
Yeah. I'm kind of just like bleeding into the abyss, but my pasty white skin is, you know,
and
translucent.
your crazy hair. You got great
Yeah. Well, can you
crazy
even
hair.
see it that well? I don't
Oh
know.
yeah. Yeah.
Now's not the time. This is audio specific important comedy. So I know you've been doing like still stuff on Zoom and in that realm. I know you podcast and stuff like that, but have you been getting out there and doing stuff? You're in Chicago. We met, in real life. We did a show in Chicago. It was a fucking amazing show.
It was great. I
The
had
one time we got to hang, it was at least a dope show. It would be a bummer if like the one time we met and that show was fucking terrible.
and then we wouldn't be friends anymore because
Well, no, I would still be friends with you, but I would always think about that crappy show for sure. I'd be like, I probably shouldn't do any shows with Trish. She's bad luck. She's hexed. Now I'm like, no, she's good luck. I need her. You crushed. I mean, it was like one of the first shows I think you did since the like shutdown, or even before that. And then you're like singing and stuff. It was fucking dope.
I love that song. I wrote that song because of the Meat Slap Mike, which is never coming back.
It's never coming back. Even
Um,
though Ira was really pleading with how could we make it come back. I was like, I don't know. I don't think it's ever coming back. Maybe Ham and I are contemplating starting a podcast, though. Not the Meat Slap podcast. That's definitely never coming back. But
well, I mean, Tuesdays are whatever. I don't want to talk about that.
yeah, no, I
But
have something important on Tuesdays now. It's a secret. I can't tell anyone about it. Sorry.
yeah, thanks. No, I was at Butcher Block and you were making everybody like the first two people sang, and you're like, now everybody has to sing their jokes. And I was like third, and I'm like, okay. And I had
Wow.
written this joke, and I was like first or second time telling it, and I sang it, and it went over really well. And I was like, I'm writing more of this. And I
Yeah.
turned it into that song,
Well,
which
you're a good singer. I mean, that's your other skill set. You were able to like I mean, that's your it's such a dumb comparison, but like, Bernie Mac's I ain't scared of you motherfuckers set. Have you ever
I,
seen that?
I
They
actually
were
have.
heckling like all night at Def Jam, and he did this set where he basically just tagged every joke with I ain't scared of you motherfuckers, and did like a DJ like play music and like did like a cut it like you don't understand. I'm not scared. It was and it like killed it, like made his career, and that's kind of like yours. You were just like because he didn't plan that. He was like, it was a TV taping, so he's just like, fuck it, I have to do it to like win this. So it's like literally like the first comedian has to sing their line. I remember this, Mike, now that you say it out loud. I don't remember why. The first comedian did it, so then the second comedian, we like jokingly like, you should do it too. And then they did. So you being the third, it only makes
I'm
sense that you would keep
like
the
third or fourth, and I'm like, yep, I'm singing.
well, who's
So
gonna make it bust at that point? It's like who's gonna be the person who's like, I can't do it.
I, I I used to be afraid of everything, and was so self-conscious and so easily embarrassed. And somebody once said to me, "Can you sing?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Sing something, just something." And I sang "I'm a Little Teapot" really badly because I was just so afraid. And
Yeah.
now I don't care if I
Yeah,
sound
good.
stupid. You know why I don't care? I did improv in in Omaha. I moved from Chicago to Omaha, Nebraska, and it was in Omaha that I took improv classes. And
So was that your start and introduction to comedy? Was
yeah,
taking improv? Okay, explain
and
that to me.
I learned that even when you completely bomb, which you do in beginners improv,
Yeah,
if you get a laugh, it's a freaking miracle. I learned it's uncomfortable, but it will not kill you. So
right. it kind of it yeah, it kind of teaches you a lot of adaptability. I guess that's a good way. It's a very expensive way to learn how to lie faster to people in real life,
And
I would
and
say.
and but in Omaha, it's a lot cheaper than it is in Chicago. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, you're telling me I moved from Connecticut to Nebraska for literally the same reasons. Now I'm getting my wife to come to the terms with, hey, did you know other cheap places exist in this country? And she's like, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, let me show you Pennsylvania real quick. Like,
you want to get closer to the East Coast?
I think I need to go back to where people talk more threateningly. I just need it for my own sanity. Like I liked going to Vegas. A lot of the things you were saying about before with the Leaning Tower of Pisa was when we just went to Vegas. I felt that heavy. First of all, Ham said it first, and then I felt it too. She goes, for being as far west as we are, this has a very East Coast mentality. And then I started explaining that that's the plot of Godfather 2, that all the New York people came over and
Well,
built
I
it.
was going to say because they
Yeah.
were mobsters from Chicago and
Yeah.
the East Coast, so
I
they
loved
built
it.
it
I
up.
loved Vegas. I said this many times. I said I love how soulless it is. I love how like just show businessy it is. I had a lot of things to say about how awful and nice it was. And but they to the T had that like every casino is like this is Paris and they had a fake Eiffel Tower with like a
Yeah.
Gordon Ramsay bullshit and then they're like this one's New York City and I was just like laughing at all.
I
Like this one's Caesar's Palace. I'm like, this one's a
Caesars is
dump.
crazy. I liked Circus. I've been there
I
twice.
stay. That's where we stayed.
And I thought, and we stayed at the Flamingo the first time I was there.
We went
And
there. I loved it there.
and I mean, it's like the original hotel.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, we did like really touristy shit.
well, I remember walking through Circus and being amused by it. I did
mhm.
not, I did not like it there.
We
And then
stayed there. Staying there and visiting there was very different, but we spent a lot of time there. The arcade was dope, but I could hear the elevator rapidly going by our room like every 10 seconds. It was scary as shit. Our toilet started bubbling. And
that
we
sounds
told
awesome.
our friend came with us and like stayed in a different room and stuff because it was just cheaper to get a bunch of tickets and stuff and hang out with people. So we told him about it, and then he's like, "Yeah, that happened in my room too." And we're like, "What the fuck is like?" I'm talking like a witch's cauldron. It was fucking scary.
That's not good. I
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
like that.
we alerted the people, but they, it is what it is.
So I didn't go back for a really long time, like 25 years. And when I came
It's
back,
fun. It's really fun and gaudy. I loved it.
so it was everything I hated and more. It was like the things I didn't like about Vegas the first time I was there was how ugly it was and how it looked like a pinball machine threw up. It just,
That's a really great description. It's very
no,
fake. It's against God. It's
it's
everything.
against everything. And the only thing I really wanted to do there was go to Hoover Dam, and I was married. Um, and my husband was like, "It's a 2 hour drive. I don't want to go. I want to lay by the pool." And I I'm I have fair skin and sunburn easily, and the last thing I
Yeah.
want to do is lay by a pool in a desert. So
Well, I mean, I was there in January. That wasn't even an option. I literally could just walk around. And I was actually just in awe. I've been too long in this fucking Midwest flat bullshit because I just saw mountains. And I was like, whoa.
I like mountains, but I am a flatlander, and
Yeah,
um,
no, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying like we had crazy mountains on the East Coast, but it was just good to see mountains again. I was just like, thank God. But I like this. My favorite place was the Bellagio. It was just like over the top and stuff. That was kind of like my like fantasy life. Like while I was in Vegas for 3 days, is like if I moved here, you play that game. Like, what would you do if you moved here, whatever. And I was like, I would love to just be like, you're walking around the Bellagio, let's say, and you see like the like, cabaret lounge. I just want to sit in there, smoke cigars, and make deals. I don't know what kind of deals, but just be like securing deals constantly. Like there was just a
I
frustrated guy on a laptop in there, like with a glass of Chardonnay. I'd be like, yeah, that guy, just like sealing deals.
You wouldn't want to be the guy dusting the Chihuly ceiling in the lobby or
No. Oh
working,
my God, no.
working the fountain, like making sure the fountain works for that crazy fountain show. Did
Well,
you see that?
Connecticut has the biggest casinos. I come from spoiled bullshit. So like going to Vegas, I was actually like, these are kind of fucking small. Like straight up. But like I've always felt like with those big ass casinos, and I said this in Vegas, I was like, those like the people that work there, like especially like the bathroom attendants, I was like, I was like, you ever notice they don't even look you in the eyes? And like everyone was like kind of just like, where's Brian going with this at the buffet? And I was like, it's not that they like are ashamed, it's that they don't respect us. They feel
Yeah.
bad for us. I was like, you don't get it, do you? And I was just like, just like getting
I mean,
extra
it's a
gravy
whole
on
city.
pizza.
It's a whole city going like this. Give us your money.
Yeah,
Give us your money.
it's
We want
very
your money.
expensive.
We want
Like
your
to
money.
just exist. But like then you go 20 minutes outside where, Kirk lives and, it was normal-ish. You're like, oh, is this where the sister wives used to live? Fuck yeah. Like I like that show. Hell
I
yeah.
I watched it in the very beginning, and then I got rid of cable.
Oh, you
So
need to
I didn't
watch it
really.
now. Like the new shit that's coming out. I think only two of the four wives are still with him, maybe only
I,
one.
I know that some of them left him. I heard
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I just,
No one
eventually
tells you
people are
about
going to
that.
wise up. People are going to wise up.
I mean, that's polygamy for you. It's also multiple divorces, potentially.
Yeah, but you only have one legal one, so you only
I
need a lawyer
know.
for one. So it's
Yeah.
like a bargain,
Yeah,
really.
it's still super fun, like arguing with somebody, though, legal or not, especially when the law's not on your side. Then you have to, like, what, get the mob? Be like, yeah, one of my third wife is really screwing the books on this one. I don't know. I tried to be a mobster. I'm so
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it. I'm trying to just work on a new scam. I'm inspired. I'm watching Pepsi Where's My Jet. That's what I was doing in between interviews.
yeah. What is that?
The there
I
In
mean,
the
I've seen
80s
it.
they had the Pepsi points, and then there was at the end of the commercial, it was supposed to be like a joke, but they said like for 7 million Pepsi points you could get a Harrier jet, and some fucking nerd basically found a loophole that you could buy Pepsi points for 10 cents a point. So he bought he did the math of how many Pepsi point, like how much money that would mean. So it was like 700K. So he basically wrote Pepsi a check for 700K. Like he got an investor that would give it to him. Uh, so he's like, "Give me my fucking jet," basically. And then they were like, "No." And then Pepsi sued him because he wouldn't take the no. They gave him two coupons for two cases, and he said, "Go fuck yourself." So they sued him. And this is where I'm at right now. I'm only on episode 3. So they were like, so they sued him, then he sued him back, and then they were like, "How about $1 million? We'll give you $1 million." And now on episode 3, he said no to the $1 million, and he's like, "Can I please have a jet?" Like
I'm gonna have to look this up
it's
because this
yeah,
seems ridiculous.
it's my by myself show. I have me and my wife shows, but then I have my by myself shows. So basically, if
Sure.
I want to watch a show, I'll present it to him and be like, "Would you like to watch this?" She was not interested in this, so I was like, "This is a by myself show then." So I only have a certain amount of times for my by myself shows. So they're like
So I'm
just
gonna go back.
splurges.
I'm gonna go back to something you said at the beginning. You said something
Yeah.
about agoraphobia. I have agoraphobia 19.
Yeah,
It's
there you go.
it's just agoraphobia related to COVID.
Are
Because
you are you kind of like a hypochondriac?
no,
I've always been accused of being one.
I was 100% convinced at the beginning that if I got COVID, I would die because of
Yeah.
my I have
I'm
asthma.
unfortunately one of those people that got suspiciously the sickest I ever been in my entire life. To like I felt like I was gonna die like a month before everything shut down.
One of my friends was in the hospital
Yeah.
for like a week
Same. Same. One
in
of my
a,
friends is
in
yeah, like on death's door.
isolation. They had to have masks. Her sister would only
Yeah.
they let her sister stand in the doorway. It was like February 2020, and she worked in a hospital, and she almost,
Yeah.
but they she hadn't been out of the country, so they wouldn't test her.
Yeah, I was doing a
She was
comedy show in Massachusetts. I can tell you where I got COVID, allegedly. You know what I mean? Because I went to a walk-in like after I could even like walk anywhere, like after a few days, and they're like, "Yeah, you're getting over whatever you have. We can't really tell. You had like some sort of like sinus infection." They were just like, "I don't know. You're getting over it though." But I was like, just literally just standing over. I couldn't even smoke. I know that sounds, oh, woe is me, but it's like I couldn't even like fathom the
no, no,
thought of
no.
inhaling anything that wasn't oxygen. But yeah, I did a show in Massachusetts at a hookah bar, and I was like passing a blunt around, and I'm like, that's literally has to be it.
That's probably it.
Yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
sharing hookah. I'm like, well, looking back at it, 2020 with 2020 vision.
You know, I work in marketing in my real job, and I had warned everybody in my department, do not use 2020 vision for every fucking thing for the year. And that got wiped out really fast,
Yeah,
because the world collapsed. And then I had to tell them to
branding
stop
is everything.
using.
You got to make sure your brand's staying on top of the apocalypse.
I was just drawing the line. You cannot say pivot for every fucking thing that we do. I made people come up with, like, here's a just brainstorm words to use, changing course, blah blah blah,
Yeah,
anything, but stop, because I just kept seeing that Friends
I
scene where
remember.
Ross is screaming pivot with the stupid couch, and
I
no,
remember fucking like when the lockdown was happening, like when companies were trying to find the spin to not go out of business.
in these
I
unprecedented times, in
it, there was a
these
lot of that, but there was one in particular. I can't remember the company. That's what I'm struggling with, remembering who it was. I think it was like sort of like a delivery grocery thing. But I'm struggling to remember the which one, so I can't call it out. But whatever, it's one of those, I think. But the way they spun it, they go with people staying at home more and more these days. I was like, brilliant,
people trapped in their
brilliant.
homes, slowly losing their minds.
One of my
Um,
favorite stories ever, because I'm infatuated with all sorts of marketing and like Mad Men and just like the evil corporate blahs. But there was like I heard a story about like it was a German car company. They did a survey against their competitor and they lost. It was just them versus their competitor, a private survey they did. So the way they spun it, the way they advertised it was that they did a national survey in Germany saying, what's your favorite car? And that their brand came in second place in their review and that their opponent came in second to last when they in fact beat them. Second to last to second. I was like, put a bow on it and fucking put that on my epitaph. Fucking
yeah, I work
seriously.
with nonprofit associations, so I don't usually feel gross about the work that I do.
Yeah,
Um,
that's probably why you're like, let's not say the word pivot and let's show some compassion and let's
and
be humans for once.
we try to work with the humanity of things. I was supposed to go to San Diego, which I've been to once before, like 4 months before I was there. The weather's perfect, 74 degrees. I like it there, really good restaurants. I was supposed to go there, and I was supposed to go the Sunday before lockdown in Illinois, and they
Really?
canceled it like 2 days before. They were like, they just canceled it, so I couldn't go. And I was bummed because I was kind of hoping that I would get to San Diego and then they would cancel it, because I'm an
Then you'd
idiot.
be stuck in San Diego.
I would have had a week in San Diego
Yeah.
and not have to work, and that would have been cool, right? But
A week.
a week. But I think it's better that I got stuck at home,
Yeah.
because yeah.
I liked where I was when it happened, but when things like opened back up, we started doing yard shows and stuff. And then just
Mhm.
coincidentally, the first house that we performed at, our friend who lived there was moving out because they bought a house because they actually made a ton of money on crypto, enough to put a down payment on a house. And they're a realtor. So they were like, I'm outie if you want that lake house. So we actually moved into that. And
Oh, I
that just
remember you talking about the lake
yeah,
house.
that was like our big move because we were like kind of like we loved like hunkering down. Like we had like some of the we always say Ham and I it was like the best times because it was just like I mean shit I just rubbed her feet all day and we were just like cutesy and like we lived in a small town Salem Connecticut so it's like literally like the butcher was right across the street. It was pretty chaotic. I mean they were like literally like selling full animals and like I'll kill this cow right now if someone gives me $500 and I was like holy shit like but then like once that cooled down it was just like a day in day out like once it like you get over that like it wasn't just 2 weeks and it was like 3 months we were like all right this is what we do we had a little writers group like it was fucking cute.
Yeah, you guys did a lot, and
Yeah, she started a painting business and we needed a place to do it physically but yeah Connecticut just became like too expensive and then we did like what you did we moved to Nebraska and we're like maybe that's cheaper but are you from Nebraska or are you always from
I am
Chicago?
from Chicago. I've
So
lived in.
what brought you to just Nebraska was cheaper or just
I
the
had a
pricing?
friend, and it just seemed to be like a good idea.
Okay.
And
So
I was
what
there
brings you to
for.
improv then? So you're in Omaha. What brings you to improv then specifically?
So what happened? This is going to sound goofy. I don't know.
It's not everyone getting into comedy is a bad story. So it's like
So I went to this right a few months before I moved from Omaha. Uh, I went to this thing. One of my instructors from college, who is like literally 2 years older than me, um, he was doing a thing. I forget what it was called, but it was like he does the tweet of the week contest in his column. He's like a real newspaper reporter now, or columnist. Now he has he's retired, but he has his own side business doing reporting and
right.
column. Basically, it's like long columns. Anyhow, um, he was one of the speakers at this event that we had like lots of 6 7 minute presentations, and I went to, and it was really cool, and I just wanted to check it out, and it was really cool. I went with one of my friends, and then at the end of it the woman who ran it said that like a bunch of the people that were working with her there too, they all met at IO, which used to be called Improv Olympics in Chicago. And I was like,
Oh.
and they talked about improv, and I was like, well, I'm leaving Chicago in a few months, so maybe it'll wait. And then when I got to improv or to Omaha, I Googled it and found the back line and
Yeah.
signed up for classes.
There is a lot of improv in Nebraska. I mean, the Midwest in general, but I was pleasantly surprised to see like not one, but two improv clubs
And I took
just in
classes at
Omaha.
both of the schools in Omaha.
Yeah.
I
Did you
took
have a preference to one or like did you find like both of them beneficial or like or is it all kind of the same
so
anywhere?
the back line is more long form improv,
Okay.
and the other one, Big Canvas,
Now
is
it's
more
Blackstone Theater though.
okay. Well, the school then was called Big
Yeah,
Canvas,
I
but it was
know.
in a weird building, and but it was
Yeah.
the teachers were the people that I took two classes with them, and then I stopped. But it's short form, so it's more games, and it's
Yeah.
faster and funnier. It's more like whose line is it anyway?
Ooh,
And
okay. I can see
and
pros and cons to both for sure.
there are, you know, with
Different muscles.
different muscles, and with I think with short form, you're funnier faster. Um, improv is uh, long form improv is more. It's like acting and writing and um, doing comedy, all of
Bringing
this
truth to
time.
character. Ugh, yeah.
Well, it was like, it was basically commit to the bit, and
Right.
um,
It's that yeah, exactly. Like how far can you take this bit, commit to the bit? Like what like where can you go with it? Like can you make it like something like onion, like multi-layered thing for sure. There's a craft to all of
well,
it.
and
It's
you're
like
also reading somebody's mind at the same time. You're like writing, acting, being funny, and reading your scene
it's like
partner's
being
mind.
possessed kind of when you're just I mean, you can have that in stand up too when you're just like completely like unfiltered, just saying whatever. Like you can have that moment too. I mean, like capturing little parts of that, like Ham and I have always liked that with like either running in-person open mics or like our Zoom open mic with having the riff bowl, which is having you pull a topic out of the bowl and then just read it right after your set and just be like, oh, now do a joke about cats. And you just be like, a lot of people end up getting like a bit just out of like, I never thought about having that. It's like kind of just having that like gun to your head, like think of a joke about this real quick. And you're like, all right, fine. Like, cause I always think bombing, like comedy's like being in the ocean and going with the waves, and like bombing is you start to drown, and what you don't realize is even if you don't know how to swim, you instinctively will start swimming because you don't want to drown. Your body will like flow
Yeah.
and like do the right things instinctively. So if you kind of just do that in like the on stage thing, like it's like when you say like I don't care, there's kind of like a gray area of like being careless and also being like that is a form of confidence too. It's like being careless of the ramifications is more of like the clearer like term, because it's like once you kind of can embrace all of that, that's where I guess you find, because improv is kind of more funny when you're doing it than witnessing it. That's what is
I
hard.
mean, I think,
I've seen some
okay,
good
so
improv. It's
one
just
of the things that
rarer.
I really liked about improv, that I think has helped with comedy, and it's helped with like the riff bowl situations, is the A to C thinking. Like you say, a blue bowl, like the riff bowl.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell a joke about a blue bowl. I have to tell a joke about what the blue bowl reminds me of and go from there.
Right.
And a lot of people, I've seen them when at the Meat Slap and at Virtual Writers Group, where they took it so literally and they're like, I don't have anything about
Yeah.
oranges. And be like, what
It's
do
like you don't
oranges
have
remind
to
you of?
have something about it. How do you feel about it? And then, especially in
Right,
comedy, you can like take a step back from it and be like, what would you do if that's what you had to do? Be like, even do it as a shitty crowd work pitch. How do you guys feel about birthday cakes or whatever the fuck it
right,
is, you know?
right. So
Yeah.
I think that um there's that, so that's one of the value, the part of the value I got from
No,
uh
that's awesome.
improv.
It's
I think
good.
I mean, but like I was gonna say, there's like really there's three kinds of improv. There's beginning improv and it's terrible.
Yeah.
And there's intermediate improv and it's okay. And then there's great improv.
And
I've
it's
seen
terrible. Comes full circle.
I've seen great improv that, I mean, there's a guy, he's from, I think he lives in Omaha again. He's his name is Matt Geller, and he's the
Mm,
dancing pumpkin guy at Halloween.
I don't
Um,
know. I only know
but
Eric Pumpkins, and that's bad enough.
he does musical improv, and
Okay.
it's the funniest shit I've ever seen.
People that
He
can do shit like that, like Ham can do stuff like that, like riff
he
a
he,
whole song. I'm like, how the fuck did you just do
he
that?
rips a whole show. He introduces himself, "Hey, you're my,"
Who's he,
he's an
Jonathan
act,
Winters?
like he's in front of a crowd that are there to see him perform, and he's like, and he tells a little story. And he goes, and that led to a little song called, and then somebody will say, the name of it, the audience calls out the name of the song, and then he does a song,
Interesting.
and it's hilarious and brilliant.
There's
And
got to be a way he does it. You know how like we're all
oh yeah,
like be in the craft, so it's like how is he? He's got to say something in his speech or something like to,
I
like I
I've
mean, I
seen
want
him
to
do
see it.
it.
I'm like I love watching that. It's kind of like when you watch a magician. I love magic, but I'm also like, how the fuck does he do that?
See, and I've seen it. I've seen him do it a couple of times, and I've seen him do it three times. It was always
Mystifying.
different, and it's always different, and it was always hilarious. There's a Stacy Smith. She used to be at IO. Now she's at Boom Chicago and Amsterdam, and she had a team with Shakira from No, I'm saying her name wrong. Shantira? I'm terrible with names sometimes.
You've
And I
also
can't
been removed from the scene for a while
for quite a
too,
while, but
so
she's from Three Pete, and they did a scene together at Omaha Improv Fest. That was they did a show. They got a standing ovation. It was the only
really.
time I've seen improv get is standing
And like
ovation. It was
live too, you saw that. That's
breathtaking.
amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
wow.
and
I
I
love
think
it.
musical improv is the best improv. I do.
I mean, because it takes a lot of skill sets, and it's like also like the on the fly sort of way. Like whether there's tricks or anything, it's like you also have to like have a comedic timing and then the musical timing and all of it. I can't do it. I play instruments and I do comedy supposedly, and I'm not doing musical comedy fucking ever. I did
Um,
one character, and that was in the past calendar year. It was like my first musical comedy like thing, and that was Steve Keith, and I literally just pushed like four buttons on a keyboard.
I love Steve King.
Thank you. I mean, it's a tough sell when you're like, people are like, what the fuck, Steve Keith? And I'm like, well, he's from the HR department of comedy. And they're like, what does that even mean? And I'm like, you clearly
Whatever it
get
means,
it.
it means what it means. It means the
Yeah.
words that you just heard.
I've been
HR
thinking about
department
bringing him
comedy.
back.
HR department of comedy.
Yeah.
It was perfect. I thought that,
Yeah. I
you
had to
know,
kill off Dave Piss, but I was like, I'll bring back Steve Keith
I didn't
maybe.
enjoy him as much, I have to admit.
Dave
But
Piss
I did love
is a one trick pony. He just it was ambitious of me to pepper in skateboarding all of a sudden. Like I'm not in my mid 30s and I'm like doing jumps and shit. Like, ow, my fucking bones. I was
I
hurting
mean,
myself doing comedy, like literally in the dumbest way. Like I was like, oh my God, I did the worm too hard and I got hurt.
yeah,
That's what
no.
was Dave Piss was getting me. Just picture a bar in Kansas with 8 people in it, and I'm just doing the worm, and no one gives a fuck. And then I hurt myself, and I'm like, I don't think this character's good anymore.
I did an open mic in Overland Park, Kansas on a Sunday night in
Oh yeah,
a,
it's like in KC too. Yeah, I've
it's
been
in a
there.
strip mall next to an Indian restaurant.
Yeah,
Like they shared the same door. And that's the only
interesting.
comedy I did in Kansas ever. And now my sister doesn't live there, so I have no reason to go back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
no.
want to go there. I have nothing against Kansas. They did a really good job in some things recently. And, politically speaking, I liked what they did in
Yeah.
22. My sister was still living there.
They're doing
Whatever.
some okay shit. Like Kansas is like like when you're looking at it, pretty drab, but like the people are pretty chill. There's some like little cool little towns and stuff, and people are
Yeah.
pretty hip and shit. There's also the people that you think are there before you even get there. You're like, there's gonna be those like
Yeah.
yeah, I could tell you a story about it off the show. It's one of those stories where I was like, Jesus Christ, these people still fucking exist, but
Yeah, they do.
you
I'm
know,
always
that was
surprised
fun.
myself.
Yeah. I did tell in the interview right before, so I can't do it again, but I told I got kicked out of a microtel in Kansas on that Dave Piss tour also. So I'll send you a link to that just so I don't have to do it twice.
I'll have to listen to the other episode. I like Ira a lot. So
Ira is fucking awesome. The conversation was really cool too. We basically did a whole podcast just talking. We talked for like an hour and then we're like, fuck, we have to record something. And then we did. And then I was like, I have to do this one. And then, actually I have to wrap this one up in like a minute because I have to go do my Zoom pop-up mic that I've been doing. I've been doing this like revolt of since I've been having no shows on Fridays lately. I'm like, I'm just doing a pop-up mic. And the first one I did, I got such a good response. People were like, can you do this again next week? And then Kirk kind of like hostily took it over last week. And then AJ was like, I want to be the Riff Bowl, like, because I'm letting people be the Riff Bowl now. I was like, Kirk gets to be the Riff Bowl. So the one I think you missed, instead of getting a riff, Kirk interviewed you on the couch after your set, which was definitely not super time consuming. And then AJ volunteered to send me a Google Doc for next week's for all the riffs he wants to put in the bowl. So I'm just letting people go. If you want to be the Riff Bowl tonight, I mean,
we'll see
we'll see
how
what's going on. I'm just
we'll
saying,
see.
I'm keeping it fun, but it has been fun. Like, it's cool that people were like, I had fun doing this. Can you just do it again next Friday? I'm like, hey, at least I'm not the only person gigless on a Friday.
I'm very gigless.
Right. Well, we can change that. You guys should book Trish, or are you not taking bookings? Do you have any plugs? Do you have anything you want to promote?
I'm going to be doing a podcast with that's going to be fun. That's about
Yeah.
the extent. Ask us anything.
Yeah, finally. You proposed it to me a while ago and I was like I didn't know because I didn't feel confident in myself. But now that I kind of have the channel kind of rocking and rolling and people are getting in on board, I brought it back to you. We've been going back and forth about having an advice podcast for a while. I think we should do it where people just ask me and you for advice.
They ask us a question and then we
Yeah.
both give the answer. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm old enough to be your mother. And
Yeah.
I mean, my original idea was for one of my sons who used to do stand up, but he quit because so many stand ups are jerks and he just didn't want to hang around with them.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm your son now. Let's do this shit.
but he doesn't do social media. So I
Oh,
thought it
he's
would be
smart.
fun to have somebody who doesn't do social media
Mm,
and who's younger with their mom or an old
yeah.
lady who definitely does social media. And I mean, I do it as part of my job, and I'm all over it. I just thought it was kind of a weird
Mm,
perspective, but I think having a
yeah.
younger kid with me.
I'm appreciate just being called a kid right now. I've always been down to give my advice unsolicited. So the fact that you're willing to co-sign with it, I am down to clown because I think you can give people good advice and I can give people my opinion on things. And that's where I think the yin and the yang.
Well, and it also depends on what they're asking advice about,
That's
too.
true. If like they need to know how to like get resin out of their bowl or something, I got them all day.
Yeah, you're better with that. And I would say,
Yeah.
like, isn't that what pipe cleaners are for?
Yeah, sure. What's
Um,
something like let's give them a thing. What's a good what's a cliche thing people go to for advice about?
Well, I don't know. Recently, I this happened. I was in and this is a question that I want to use on the podcast.
Okay. Well, then with a cliffhanger, I like this.
I was in a Lush, the store Lush for
Oh, okay. I
Christmas,
thought like a drunk person.
and I was, and I was buying a present for a baby shower, and the girl behind the counter turns to her coworker and says, "What's the difference between a bachelorette party and a bridal shower?" And
Ooh.
I had the answer,
Yeah.
and I think that should be a question on my podcast.
That's kind of like the same with I was in a similar situation. This is comedy related, and it will be co-signing the question. Is I got hired one time to perform comedy at a stag party, and I
Oh,
said, "What's the difference between a stag party and a bachelor party?" And oh, did I find out?
I think we have our first episode.
It was born right there. At least the
There it was.
first something. I love it. Dude, hell yeah. Thank you so much, Trish. This was awesome. Thank you so much for sitting down and hanging out with me. This was fucking rad. And now we have a new concept to look forward to.
Yeah, that'll be good. All right.
Yes, we'll get to the social media posting. This was fucking awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hell yeah.